It's a funny thing about tires. We know we need them on our cars and trucks, but we don't always know how to take care of them. Tires can't do their job if they don't have the right air pressure for the vehicle. As many as 5 out of 6 motorists don't properly check their tire pressure, and 2 out of 3 never check their spare tire. Think about this. The footprints of your tires have to support the entire weight of your vehicle. So what is air pressure anyway? Air pressure is measured in pounds per square inch, or PSI. Air pressure increases when you add air to the tire or when temperatures increase. Every tire has a maximum PSI written on the sidewall of the tire, but that's not the same as the PSI recommended by the vehicle manufacturer. You can find that information inside the driver's door, on the door jamb, or in the owner's manual. Have you seen this symbol light up on your dashboard? All vehicles with this symbol have a tire pressure monitoring system, or TPMS for short. In a recent consumer survey, 42% of drivers didn't recognize the TPMS symbol, and 1 in 10 drivers admitted to intentionally ignoring it. This is Shelley. She basically lives in her car, drives to and from work, carpools the kids to their games, she does errands and gets stuck in traffic, hits potholes and navigates wet roads on rainy days. Shelley is like millions of people. She doesn't give her tires much thought. She's not in the habit of checking her tire pressure. She is, however, in the habit of constantly filling her gas tank. So she should know that reduced tire air pressure can reduce fuel efficiency, as well as handling and stopping capabilities. Also, when tires are underinflated, they generate more heat, and heat is a tire's enemy. To make matters worse, Shelley lives in Texas. Texas is one hot state in the summer, and today is a scorcher. What do you think is going to happen to Shelley's underinflated tires this week while she drives all over creation with temperatures in the 90s? Shelley is at higher risk for a tire failure. And look who's on the same highway as Shelley. This is Dan. He owns a construction business and has a large fleet of trucks, mostly 3/4 ton. They have to drive through some pretty tough terrain, unpaved roads, gravel, and mud. Dan's about to get a call telling him that one of his trucks for a big job has just had a tire failure. Reliable Construction, this is Dan. After he confirms that no one is hurt, Dan's next concern is time and money lost while the driver waits for road service. Dan's fleet operating expenses are going up all the time. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, as much as 36% of a fleet's maintenance expense can go to tires. Dan should know that the average downtime on the highway due to a flat tire is 3 to 4 hours, and roadside repairs typically cost around $400 or more. What do you think caused the tire failure? It could be low air pressure or overloading the vehicle. Load is another critical factor in tire safety. Just like underinflation, excessive load can cause a tire to fail. So Dan needs to make sure each and every truck in his fleet has the right tire pressure and never exceeds the maximum load specified by the vehicle manufacturer. Dan also needs to make sure that when he does replace a tire, it has the same or greater load capacity of the original tire that came with the truck. In a survey of 3,300 vehicles, only 9% had 4 properly inflated tires, and 69% had at least 1 underinflated tire. And when Michelin did a random check of fleet truck tires, almost 60% were underinflated. A lot of us don't even think about our tires until they need to be replaced. Shelley and Dan have 2 very different reasons for being on the road, but they have the same goal, to get where they're going safely and cost-effectively. So like all motorists, they need to make sure their tires are not overinflated or underinflated. Overinflation can cause irregular wear and a harsher ride and reduced contact patch, making the tire more vulnerable to road debris. Underinflation causes the tires to wear unevenly, making the tire more vulnerable to potholes and dramatically affects steering and handling. Underinflation causes tires to overheat, and overheated tires are more likely to experience air loss and tire failure, which is a leading cause of accidents, injuries, and possibly expensive liability issues. Underinflation reduces fuel economy. For every 10 psi of underinflation, fuel consumption increases from 0.5 to 0.75%. So keeping tires properly inflated can save you up to $100 at the gas pump over the life of the tire. Tires underinflated by 20% can decrease tread wear by 25%. That means a tire designed to last for 60,000 miles would have to be replaced after just 45,000. That's not good for your pocketbook or the environment. Here's a light truck tire with a recommended PSI of 35. These photos of the sidewall bulge and tire tread show that when the air pressure goes down to 32, 28, and 25 PSI, the tire looks the same on the outside. It's impossible to know the tire pressure just by looking at it. But these thermal photos taken after the tires were driven on show how lower pressure causes the tire to heat up. At 25 PSI, the sidewall of the tire reaches 156 degrees. And this 3/4 and 1 ton truck tire has a recommended PSI of 80. Again, after being driven on at 72, 64, and 56 PSI, the tire looks the same, but the thermal images show how it is heating up. Low pressure leads to higher operating temperatures, and higher operating temperatures can really damage tires. Tires can lose 1 pound of pressure each month just from being driven on, and you can't tell just by looking at them if the air pressure is low. That's why it's so important to check your tire pressure once a month. To accurately determine air pressure, you need a reliable tire gauge, and you should follow the manufacturer's pressure recommendations. Let's check in with Michelin's tire driving expert, Sarah Robinson, about the best way to check your tire pressure. Sarah?
So it's important to check your tire pressures once a month or before a long road trip. And the reason we want to do this is it maximizes the wear life, the performance, and the safety of your tires. So once you know the proper cold inflation pressure for your vehicle, and that can be found either on the sticker in the driver's door jamb or in the owner's manual, you've got a good baseline. Now, why is it a cold inflation pressure? Well, because it's a nice stable reading that you want to get before you've driven the tires and built any heat, so we've got a good baseline. So here, this vehicle needs 33 PSI front and rear. So I just want to remove the valve stem cap, and once I do that, I'm going to put the gauge on the cap with a nice firm grasp. You'll hear a psh, you know you've got a good seal. So this one is right on the money at 33 PSI, which is the cold inflation pressure for this vehicle. So once I've checked all the tires and replaced all the valve stem caps, this is important because it's the final seal as well as keeping out dirt, grime, dust, and everything from the valve stem, we're ready to hit the road again. It's a pretty easy step, less than 30 seconds per tire to ensure your safety and the best performance of your tires.
Passenger car drivers are most likely to check their tire pressure during a routine service, and least likely before a road trip. That's not good because a long-distance drive is the time when you need to make sure you have the proper tire pressure. So now that Shelley and Dan are aware of the importance of proper air pressure for tire life, cost savings, and road safety, they are much happier. Shelley checks her air pressure once a month and before long trips when the tires are cold. Dan keeps his maintenance costs in check by having every driver in his fleet check their tire pressure monthly, not with a tire thumper, but with a reliable gauge. And they both follow the vehicle manufacturer's recommendation for tire pressure and replacement tires. By avoiding overinflation and underinflation and maintaining proper load levels, you too can have tires that can do their job, giving you miles of safe driving in any conditions. The pressure's on to keep your tires properly inflated.
Michelin, a better way forward.